Germany. April 26, 1962. A 13-year-old girl climbs out of her bedroom window. It is late. The house is silent. Her parents are asleep. She doesn't take a suitcase. She doesn't leave a note saying goodbye. She doesn't tell her younger sister where she is going. She simply vanishes into the cold night air, heading for the highway. Her name is Lydia Schürmann, and she is looking for a ride. Welcome to Ready Tea. I'm your host, and every week, we brew a fresh cup of Reddit's darkest, strangest, and most unforgettable stories. From unsolved murders and lost media to conspiracy theories and real-life struggles with happy endings. No clickbait. No robotic reading. Just deep dives into the stories that the internet forgot. If you love mysteries that make you think, you are in the right place. Now grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's begin. Let me paint you a picture of Germany in 1962. The country was still rebuilding after World War II. The economic miracle was just beginning. People were hopeful, but life was hard. Families were strict. Teenagers did not talk back to their parents. Hitchhiking was normal. It was not seen as dangerous. Soldiers, workers, and students all stuck out their thumbs on the side of the Autobahn. It was free transportation. And for a girl like Lydia, it was freedom. But freedom has a price. And sometimes, that price is everything. For 44 years, Lydia's murder remains a ghost file. A cold case buried deep in a police archive. Forgotten by the public. Ignored by the media. Then, in 2006, a letter arrives at a police station. The handwriting is shaky. Old. The paper is yellowed. The writer says he has a confession. He says he is dying. He says he wants to clear his conscience before he meets his maker. He describes exactly what happened to Lydia. The police are convinced. They think they have finally found him. There is just one problem. One detail that destroys everything. This letter does not come from a killer. It comes from somewhere much stranger. A place the police never expected. This is the story of Lydia Schürmann, the 13-year-old girl who climbed out a window. The confession that arrived 44 years too late. And the man who admitted to a murder he could not possibly have committed. Let us go back to the beginning. Lydia Schürmann was born in 1949. She grew up in Ried-Wiedenbruck, a small town in North Rhine-Westphalia. It was not a wealthy town. It was a working-class town. Factories. Farmland. Small houses with small gardens. Lydia was the oldest daughter. She had siblings. She had chores. She had a mother who expected obedience. By all accounts, Lydia was a normal teenager. She liked music. She liked clothes. She dreamed of travel. France specifically. She had an aunt living in France, and she had visited before. She wanted to go back. She wanted to see something bigger than her small German town. She wanted to breathe different air. But her mother said no. We do not know exactly what the argument was about. History has lost those details. Maybe it was about money. Maybe it was about school. Maybe it was simply a mother who was scared to let her daughter go. Whatever the reason, the argument ended the same way. Lydia was grounded. She was told to stay home. She was told to forget about France. Lydia was stubborn. She waited until the house was dark. She waited until she heard her parents breathing deeply in sleep. Then she climbed out her bedroom window. She did not pack a bag. She did not take food or water or a map. She simply walked away from everything she knew. The A2 Autobahn was not far from her home. She reached it quickly. And then, she did what thousands of Germans did every day. She stuck out her thumb. A Belgian truck driver eventually pulled over. His name was never released to the public. We only know that he was middle-aged. He was driving a large cargo truck. He was heading toward the Dutch border. He agreed to take Lydia part of the way. For a while, the ride was uneventful. The truck hummed along the highway. Lydia sat in the passenger seat. Maybe they talked. Maybe they sat in silence. We will never know. But when they reached the border town of Elmt, the driver realized something. Lydia had no passport. No identification card. In 1962, crossing borders was serious. The driver did not want trouble. He pulled over. He told Lydia he could not take her any further. He left her on the side of the road. It was dark. It was cold. She was alone. The truck driver later told police that he assumed she would turn around. He assumed she would walk back toward her home. But Lydia did not want to go home. She was not ready to give up. She stuck out her thumb again. She started walking back toward Germany. Not toward her house. Toward the highway. Toward another ride. Toward anyone who would stop. That was the last time anyone saw Lydia Schürmann alive. The days passed. Then weeks. Then months. Lydia's parents must have been living in a nightmare. Can you imagine it? Your daughter climbs out a window. She does not come home. You wait by the phone. You call the police. You put up posters. You search the streets. Nothing. Silence. Emptiness. Then, on August 19, 1962, a mushroom picker walked into a forest near Bielefeld. The forest was dense. Quiet. The kind of forest where sunlight barely reaches the ground. The mushroom picker was doing what he had done 100 times before. Bending down. Looking for mushrooms. Walking slowly through the trees. But this time, he found something else. A shallow grave. A patch of disturbed earth that did not look natural. He called the police. They came quickly. They started digging. Inside the grave was the body of a young girl. It was Lydia Schürmann. The autopsy was conducted in the days that followed. The cause of death was strangulation. There were marks on her neck. Bruises. Evidence of a struggle. But there was no weapon. No fingerprints. No witnesses. No suspects. The police interviewed everyone they could. The Belgian truck driver was located and questioned. He had an alibi. He was cleared. Neighbors were questioned. Family members were questioned. Teachers. Friends. Anyone who had ever spoken to Lydia. Nothing. The case went cold almost immediately. For 44 years, this was the story of Lydia Schürmann. A tragedy with no ending. A mystery with no solution. The police files sat on a shelf, collecting dust. The family grew old. Lydia's siblings grew up, had children of their own, and told their children about the aunt they never met. The world moved on. But then, in 2006, everything changed. July 2006. The phone rings at the Kaiserslautern police station. It is a records clerk. She has just opened the mail. There is a letter. It is addressed to the Criminal Investigation Department. It is handwritten. It is several pages long. The letter begins with a confession. The writer says, and I am paraphrasing here, "My name does not matter. I am old. I am sick. I will be dead soon. But before I die, I need to tell someone what I did. I killed a young girl many years ago. Her name was Lydia Schürmann." The police were skeptical at first. As I said earlier, they receive fake confessions all the time. Usually from people with mental illness. Usually from people who want attention. Usually from people who have nothing better to do. But this letter was different. The writer included details. Specific details. Details that were never released to the public. He described where Lydia was picked up. He described the truck. He described the argument. He described the moment he decided to hurt her. The police were stunned. They had a name. A handwriting sample. A potential DNA source from the envelope flap. They started investigating immediately. A few months later, a second letter arrived. This one was addressed to the Nuremberg police. It contained a confession for a completely different murder. A woman named Heideros Birchner. She was a prostitute. She was killed in 1970. Her murder had also gone unsolved. The letter contained intimate details of that crime scene. Details only the killer would know. The police ran a DNA test on the saliva from the envelope seals. The DNA matched. The same man who wrote about Lydia Schürmann also wrote about Heideros Birchner. The police believed they were hunting a serial killer. A man who had been getting away with murder for over 30 years. The letters kept coming. The writer was clever. He was playing a game with the police. He would send a letter. They would investigate. He would go silent. Then he would send another letter. He was enjoying himself. He was in control. But then, in 2007, he made a mistake. A third letter arrived. This one was not a confession. It was a threat. Specifically, a threat against a famous Austrian pop singer named DJ Ötzi. I want you to understand who DJ Ötzi is. In Germany and Austria, he is a massive celebrity. He sings cheerful, drunken party songs. He is not controversial. He is not political. He is just a happy man who makes people dance. Why would anyone want to kill him? The letter said that if DJ Ötzi performed a concert in a small town called Weiskirchen, he would be murdered. The letter contained specific details about the concert venue, the date, the time, even the security measures. The police took this threat seriously. They compared the handwriting to the previous letters. It was a match. The same man who confessed to killing Lydia Schürmann was now threatening to kill a famous singer. The police announced a plan. They would DNA test every elderly male in the Weiskirchen area. They would find the letter writer. They would arrest him. They would finally solve the mystery. The media coverage was intense. Newspapers ran front-page stories. Television stations sent reporters. The whole country was watching. And then, something strange happened. The letters stopped. No more confessions. No more threats. No more games. The writer went completely silent. The police continued their investigation. They collected DNA samples. They compared handwriting. They narrowed down their list of suspects. And then, they made a discovery that shocked everyone. They found the letter writer. He was a middle-aged man living in a small town near Weiskirchen. He was not old. He was not dying. He was not a serial killer. He was 34 years old. Let me say that again. The man who confessed to killing Lydia Schürmann in 1962 was 34 years old in 2007. That means he was born in 1973. That means he was not alive when Lydia was murdered. That means he was negative 11 years old when Heideros Birchner was killed. He could not have committed these crimes. It was physically impossible. The police confronted him. He admitted everything. He confessed to writing the letters. He confessed to threatening DJ Ötzi. But he did not confess to the murders because he could not have committed them. He was not alive. So why did he do it? Attention. Pure and simple. This man was a true crime obsessive. He had spent decades studying unsolved murders. He had read every book, watched every documentary, visited every crime scene he could find. He knew the Lydia Schürmann case better than the police did. He knew the Heideros Birchner case better than the detectives who worked it. He wrote the letters because he wanted to feel important. He wanted to be the center of attention. He wanted to watch the police scramble, while he sat comfortably in his home, reading the news articles about himself. He was not a killer. He was a superfan. A groupie of death. A man who loved murder so much that he wanted to pretend he had committed one. The police were humiliated. They had spent over a year chasing a ghost. They had devoted resources to a confession that came from a man who was not even born when the crime occurred. They had told the public they were close to solving a cold case. And then they had to admit that it was all a lie. The fake confessor was arrested for threatening DJ Ötzi. Threatening a celebrity is a crime, even if you do not intend to carry out the threat. He was charged. He went to trial. He was convicted. But he was never charged with the murders. Because you cannot charge a man for a crime that happened before he was born. That is not how the law works. And so, the real killers remain free. Let me be clear about something. There is a real killer out there. Someone actually strangled Lydia Schürmann in 1962. Someone actually murdered Heideros Birchner in 1970. These are not fictional crimes. These are not stories. These are real deaths. Real pain. Real families who never got justice. And now, thanks to one attention-seeking liar, those cases are even harder to solve. Because the police wasted time and money chasing a confession that meant nothing. Because the public got tired of the story and moved on to something else. So where does that leave us today? Lydia Schürmann has been dead for over 60 years. Her killer is likely dead as well. If he was 20 years old in 1962, he would be in his 80s today. He could be in a nursing home. He could be in a hospital. He could be watching this video right now. Or he could be buried in a grave somewhere, having taken his secret with him. The police have no suspects. No DNA. No witnesses. The case is colder than it has ever been. And unless someone confesses with actual evidence, it will likely never be solved. Let me tell you something that few people talk about. The fake confessor in this case, the man who wrote the letters, is still alive. He served his time for the threat against DJ Otzi. He was released. He is probably living a normal life somewhere in Germany. And I wonder sometimes if he reads articles about the Lydia Schürmann case. I wonder if he feels guilty for wasting everyone's time. Or if he still thinks he was the hero of the story. I also wonder about the real killer. Did he know about the fake confessions? Did he read the news articles and laugh? Did he feel relieved that someone else was taking the blame? Or was he already dead, unaware that a stranger had claimed credit for his crime? These are questions without answers. And that is the most frustrating thing about unsolved mysteries. They do not give you closure. They do not tie up neatly. They just sit there, unresolved, year after year, decade after decade. Lydia Schürmann climbed out a window because she wanted to see France. She wanted independence. She wanted to be a teenager in a world that did not give teenagers much freedom. Instead, she walked into one of Germany's most frustrating unsolved mysteries. She became a name in a police file. A photo on a missing persons website. A story that true crime fans tell each other in online forums. This case has been covered by German television. It has been written about in newspapers. It has been discussed on Reddit and other internet forums. But despite all the attention, despite all the theories, despite all the fake confessions, no one has ever been held accountable for Lydia's death. If you have any information about the murder of Lydia Schürmann, I urge you to contact the Bielefeld Police Department. A reward is still offered for information that leads to a conviction. Even if you think your information is small, even if you think it does not matter, please come forward. Someone out there knows what happened. Someone out there has been carrying this secret for 60 years. Let me leave you with a few final thoughts before we wrap up. First, I want to talk about the fake confessor. It is easy to hate him. It is easy to call him a monster for wasting police resources and manipulating the families of victims. But I think there is something sad about him as well. Imagine being so lonely, so desperate for attention, that you pretend to be a murderer. Imagine needing validation so badly that you insert yourself into someone else's tragedy. That is not evil. That is pathetic. That is a life that went very, very wrong. Second, I want to talk about the real killer. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you live with guilt. I hope every night you close your eyes and see Lydia's face. I hope you have never had a moment of peace since 1962. And if you are dead, I hope whatever comes after death is not kind to you. Finally, I want to talk about Lydia herself. She was 13 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. She had dreams. She had hopes. She had people who loved her. And all of that was taken away in a single violent moment. We do not know exactly what happened in that forest near Bielefeld. But we know that Lydia did not deserve it. No one does. If you are watching this video and you are a young person, please be careful. The world is not as safe as we want it to be. Do not walk alone at night. Do not get into cars with strangers. Tell someone where you are going. Check in with your parents or friends. None of this guarantees your safety, but it increases your chances. And your chances are all you have. Lydia did not have a chance. She climbed out that window expecting to catch a ride, see her aunt in France, and come home. She never came home. And 60 years later, we are still asking the same questions. Who killed Lydia Schürmann? Why did they do it? And will anyone ever be held responsible? I do not have the answers. I wish I did. But I have something else. I have the ability to tell Lydia's story. To make sure she is not forgotten. To remind everyone watching that behind every cold case is a real person. A person with a name. A person with a family. A person who mattered. Lydia Schürmann mattered. Before we end, let me ask you a question. What do you think happened to Lydia? Stranger or someone she knew? And what about the fake confessor? Did he know more than he admitted, or was he just a lonely man who read too many true crime books? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. Before you go, remember this. Lydia's story deserves to be told. Her killer deserves to be named. If you have information, contact the Bielefeld police. If you want more deep dives, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. Share this video with one person who loves mysteries. That is how small channels grow. One share at a time. Thank you for watching Ready Tea. Same channel. Same tea. New mystery. I will see you in the next video.